everybody. Good afternoon to those who are watching online. Uh, as you all know, school is coming to an end and summer is here. And that means kids will be spending more time on phones and tablets, game consoles, computers, and in many cases, the kids are tethered to those all day long. This is to the parents. Every time your child sets foot into a virtual world, they are at risk for being lured for sex, trafficking, crimes, and even extortion. The risk is growing at an alarming rate, and I feel like it's incumbent upon me to alert parents to that trend. Last year, NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, received more than 500,000 reports of someone trying to entice a child online for sex acts. That is a staggering number, but it's also a staggering increase of 192% from 2023 and up 578% from 2022. And we know that these numbers are only a fraction of what is actually happening. Electronic devices give predators access to your children and to your home without ever coming inside. It is easier than ever for a predator to manipulate a child into building a relationship online and having them leave home willingly. And this can happen within a matter of hours. So I want to tell you about a couple of cases recently sentenced here in Maricopa County. Ismael Mendoza started talking to a 13-year-old victim from Chandler on Snapchat. In reality, although he pretended to be a 15-year-old boy who went to a neighboring school, he was a 23-year-old man from California. Over the next 7 months, Mendoza sent the girl sexually explicit messages, photos, and videos. He asked her for videos and photos in return, and his requests became more and more explicit as time went on. Thankfully, the victim's mother learned what was happening when she borrowed her daughter's laptop, which was synced to the phone, and she found their messages along with a dummy app disguised as a calculator. It was really a PIN-protected app that the victim used to hide the videos and photos. And the mom did the right thing. She reported it. She did not tip off Mendoza about what she knew. Instead, she called the police. She collected her daughter's phone, laptop, and Xbox and brought them all to the police station so detectives could go through the devices. Along with numerous photos and videos, police found more than 6,000 text messages between the defendant and the victim. That's not including their communication over Snapchat and other social media. The mom also learned that Mendoza gave the victim gifts. He had food delivered to her house and bought her a new gaming headset. This is classic grooming behavior. Mendoza is now serving 5 years in prison and will spend the rest of his life on probation. But not every sexual predator is a stranger. In fact, most are not strangers. Sometimes the threat is closer than we realize. Brandon Barnett, a former Buckeye teacher, was caught having an inappropriate relationship with a 12-year-old student of his. He pretended to be her friend's father to trick her parents into allowing him to pick her up for sleepovers. The teacher and the student talked online almost daily. Thousands of these conversations were on the school's own messaging app, with him sometimes begging for hugs. They also frequently talked on Discord, which is a risky app that has turned into a predator's playground. At one point, he told her, quote, "Discord is fine. You can say anything there." Other messages show them planning how to lie to her parents so that they could see each other outside of school. Barnett was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison and also lifetime probation. Again, my office sees a lot of these cases. These are 2 examples. So this is why we are launching a new element of our existing campaign, Report, Don't Repost. It's called Cyber Predators real risks. Our goal is to empower parents to take action by having the necessary tools to protect their children from these growing threats. We have a web page where you will find resources, videos, and strategies you can use to help safeguard your kids. I want to show you one of the videos that we have posted already, which outlines the proper steps you should take to make a report if your child is being sexually exploited online.
The very first thing a parent should do if their child is reporting anything sexual that happens to them online is to try very hard not to respond with anger. Letting them know that this is okay, they are not in trouble, they are the victim. They should report the incident to local law enforcement first. Do not delete anything, do not block anyone, and do not report the suspect to the platform yet. The most important thing to do is to put the phone into airplane mode, collect every device that your child has, lock it down. You want to send it all, just take all of those devices and give them over to law enforcement. Parents can also report to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and they can also then start what's called a cyber tip and report that to law enforcement as well. It's incredibly important to make the report to stop the abuse from happening to your child and to stop the abuser from abusing other children in the community. Your child is likely not the only one, and if we investigate, we can hopefully find other victims, see if their images have been put online, take those down, and then prevent the abuse from happening to future victims.
As I said, this is but one video. We have another video up right now describing red flags of the grooming that parents should look for, and we'll continue to update the page with new information on topics like sex trafficking, sextortion, and the use of AI in child pornography. And speaking of AI child pornography, I'd like to bring your attention to House Bill 2678. Last week, Governor Hobbs signed it into law. It addresses artificial intelligence being used to create what we call child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, or as the public typically calls it, child pornography. The law was needed because we are at the point technology-wise where law enforcement is not always able to differentiate between real images of child porn and those that are computer generated. The law allows indistinguishable AI-generated pornography to be charged as a real victim. Arizona is the 38th state to prohibit AI-generated child pornography. And I want to especially thank Representative Julie Willoughby for spearheading this issue and sponsoring the bill. And I also want to thank Representative Quan Nguyen and Senator Hildy Angus for co-sponsoring it. I've talked about the real dangers that kids and parents are up against today, and I want to leave you with this message for parents. Technology can help you monitor your child's activity online, but it cannot do the job for you. Nothing will take your place in building a relationship with your child. Having those tough conversations and regularly talking to your child and checking your child's computer and phone are what is so important for parents to do. Telling your child, tell me if something or someone contacts you and you won't be in trouble, but I need to know, is critical. So at this time, I would like to open it up to your questions that you may have on these subjects that I've covered already, if there are any. Apparently I was very thorough. Okay. Actually, my comms team was very thorough. So let me open it up for other questions then.
We get your thoughts on the DOJ closing its case?
Yeah, my thoughts on the DOJ closing its case, specifically that related to Phoenix PD. I'm thrilled. I have seen the damage that DOJ or Federal Monitor Control over an agency that it does. We've seen that with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. And I am hopeful that this shows that those who pursued those types of things are on the wrong side of history. It needs to stop. Local law enforcement needs to be run locally, and they need to be allowed to do their jobs. Yes, ma'am.
Has a decision been made to not file charges in the Albuquerque stabbing case in which Jalen Reeves was killed? And if that's accurate, can you explain how that determination was reached?
Sure. Yes, a decision has been made to not file that case. I met with the victim's family, and it was a good meeting. My heart was breaking and continues to break for them. But we looked at it in the office, not just myself, but a number of senior prosecutors. And under Arizona law, if someone raises a self-defense claim in trial, prosecutors then have the burden of disproving self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's the same standard as proving a crime itself. That's the likely, in fact, I would say that is the defense in this case, is self-defense. And after looking at all the evidence and understanding that our ethical standards and charging standards are reasonable likelihood of conviction, we did not feel like we had a reasonable likelihood of conviction in the case. That was conveyed to the family.
Regarding the Mercedes Vega murder, since your Hayes is facing murder charges, in the last court document we saw indicated that Mercedes Vegas was murdered to prevent her from testifying in another case. We know she was supposed to testify against Cujo Young. Are you planning to file murder charges against Cujo Young in her case?
Well, right now, that case is the only case that has been submitted to us, the Hayes case. Obviously, we did file charges in that case. What I would encourage you to do is to reach out to the sheriff's office for an update on the investigation as to anybody else that might be involved.
And then regarding the Jake Kelly homicide case, it appears that the prosecutors have offered Angelina Lully a plea deal that reduces his charge from second-degree murder to manslaughter. What went into that decision, and did you consult with Jake Kelly's mother?
Yes, we did. So there were a number of issues that went into that consideration. First of all, you had different things that were contributing to why Mr. Kelly passed away. There was obviously not immediate medical attention for the injuries. Number two, you also had a situation where all of the critical witnesses were highly intoxicated, and so that left a lot of muddiness to the facts of the case. So based on all of that, we felt like for that individual, who by the way has no criminal history, that was the appropriate outcome. Okay. And by the way, for those who are listening, they didn't hear your first question. You were asking me about a case involving Jalen Reeves, which was a stabbing in Albuquerque. So, but go ahead.
The county supervisors on Monday, when discussing the budget, were looking at the price that taxpayers have paid to settle the Maricopa County, the Melendres case, and they did talk about the possibility of trying to revisit that settlement. Would you support their efforts in doing that?
I absolutely support the Board of Supervisors' efforts to not just revisit how much money has gone out, but to put an end to this. The latest numbers that I have seen is that we are quickly going to top $350 million spent on this. And the federal monitor himself, who's the one that really decides when they've come into compliance, we have paid just shy of $29 million to. This needs to end. And so I applaud the Board of Supervisors for putting this at the top of their agenda. That money can be spent in many, many other ways to benefit this community. So yes, I would support them in that. Anybody else? Okay, yeah.
Do you mind coming up to the microphone real quick?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry, it's because I have to be next to the camera, but, okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Regarding to the safety campaign, is the campaign also gonna be available in any other languages to reach out to the community here? For
Yes.
example, in Spanish, could you please explain a
Yes.
little bit more about that?
Yes, it is going to be available in Spanish as well. Thank you for asking that. I neglected to say that, but that's very important as well. All right. Okay, guys. Have a good afternoon.